Good day everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Teacher Eyes TV! For this episode, we will be talking about the basic cooking methods. And you see, most of us, if not all, are actually familiar with these cooking methods. To name a few, we have here pan frying, we have boiling, we have deep frying, we have stewing, we have baking, and we have steaming. Aside from this, there are a lot more that we will discuss in this episode. But the question here is, why do we still have to discuss each one? Well, answer, we may be familiar with most of this, but we actually should learn as well other tips and guidelines in applying all these methods of cooking so that we can come up with a perfectly cooked recipe or dish. So let's get started. Let's talk about the three mediums of cooking which are used to cook our food. Meaning, with all these methods of cooking that we have, they are categorized into three mediums to cook our food. The first category is the use of dry heat or direct heat as medium of cooking. The second category is the use of moist heat or moist method in cooking our dishes. And number three is the use of fat as a medium of cooking our food. Let's discuss the first medium of cooking, that is use of dry heat or direct heat as a medium. Well, what are the methods classified under this? We have the following. We have baking, we have roasting, and then we have broiling or grilling. When you talk about baking, it means cooking food in an enclosed equipment which we call oven. And basically, when we bake desserts or baked products like bread and cookies and muffins and pastries. But aside from these products, we can bake as well other recipes, other viands or seafood or vegetables. Examples of them are lasagna, or maybe you can have baked tahong or baked mussel, and then we can have baked fish or baked vegetables, baked potatoes. All these are just examples of those recipes which are baked. That's number one, baking. Number two here is roasting. When you say roasting, it means cooking on a spit before an open fire. What do you mean by spit here? Spit refers to the rod that is used to hold the food while it's being roasted. The spit is used to turn the food around as it is being roasted so that the food will be equally or evenly roasted. In Tagalog term, we call roasting as lechon. So we have here lechon baboy, lechon manok, or you can say roasted chicken. So examples of this, restaurants or maybe kiosks that sell this are Kenny Rogers, Baliwag Lechon. This is what you call roasting. However, I want you to take note that there are ovens with rotisserie. We can roast food as well inside the oven because it has a rotisserie. It looks like a spit that is placed inside the oven, usually an electric oven, and it easily or automatically turns as we roast the food. Most of the time, or usually when we roast food in big sizes. That's why it's quite elevated from the direct heat where it is being exposed or cooked. That is roasting. We go to the third one here. We have broiling, or we commonly call this as grilling. Or in Tagalog term, we call this inihaw. Other places like in Bacolod, they call this inasal. When you say broiling is cooking over or under a direct source of heat using a grill. So the meat or the chicken or maybe the vegetable that is being broiled or grilled, they are directly placed on the grill. That's placed directly on the coals, burning coals as well. These are the different methods of cooking classified under dry heat or direct heat method. But before I leave that part, I want you to take note that there is one food preparation technique that is commonly used when we broil, we roast, or we bake. That is what we call basting or baste. We have talked about this in our previous episode, which is the food preparation techniques. When you say basting, it means what? Moistening the food while it is being cooked or baked or grilled. That's the application of that in these three methods of cooking. We want to prevent the food from drying. So we use this in order to retain its juice and to retain its flavor. Let's move on to the second medium of cooking. That is use of moist heat method. What is this? Well, basically it uses liquid as a medium for cooking. And water is one of those liquid ingredients that we commonly use when we apply this method. But when we say liquid or moist heat, it's not just water. We can use other liquid ingredients like maybe soy sauce or vinegar or tomato sauce and any other liquid that complete the cooking of a certain recipe. Now, what methods are classified under this? We have 5 actually. The first one we have boiling, then we have steaming, and then we have simmering, we have stewing, and the last one we have parboiling. Let's discuss each one. Okay, let's start with the basic, boiling. When you say boiling, it means cooking food in liquid until it reaches the boiling point. If you have a candy thermometer at home and you want to measure if it's already at boiling point, 100 degrees Celsius is actually the boiling point of liquid. Now, if you don't have it, you don't really have to buy. Just look at the liquid that you are boiling. When you see big bubbles coming up to the top, that's boiling. And so, I just want to add that boiling is an independent method of cooking. You know why? Well, it's because boiling alone can complete the cooking of a particular recipe without using other methods. I'll give you an example. When you cook bulalo, bulalo only requires boiling of all the ingredients together. When you cook sinigang, it requires only boiling all these ingredients together. When you cook adobo, perhaps, adobo basically is boiling what? Water, soy sauce, and vinegar. That's what I mean by independent method of cooking. You don't need staying, you don't need frying, you don't need roasting in order to finish the cooking of that food. Boiling alone can do that. That's why it's independent. Let's move on to the second moist heat method, that is steaming. Steaming means cooking the food in boiling water that vaporizes into a steam. When we use this method, we also make use of a unique kind of utensil which we call a steamer. This is because it has perforated casseroles where the steam of the boiling water passes through in order to cook the food. Hence, when you talk about steaming, we don't place the ingredients or the food directly into the boiling water. It's the steam of the food that cooks it completely. And you see, one of the best things about this is that steaming is the healthiest method of cooking. Because, you know why? When you steam food, let's say fatty kinds of food like meat or chicken, the fat coming from the meat or the chicken goes down to the water that's boiling, which we will not use for serving or for eating. Hence, the fat content of the food is actually lessened. Now, examples of these kinds of food or recipes that are steamed are siomai, siopaw, we have puto, we have embutido, we have leche flan, and all the other recipes that use that steaming process. Well, just like boiling, steaming is an independent method of cooking. Because by steaming, we can completely cook the certain kind of food that we are cooking, just like puto and siopaw. That is steaming. Then we go to the third one, we have stewing. Stewing means cooking the food in liquid, which is enough to cover the ingredients. Which means not too many liquid, but not too dry. In other words, it looks like a sauce, a thick sauce, after it has been cooked. Or in Tagalog terms, masarsa. Now, when we talk about stewing, it is usually a combination of protein and vegetables. When I say protein, it can be meat or fish or chicken or any kinds of poultry animals. When we stew, basically, it starts with sauteing process and then boiling and simmering, coming up with these recipes that we are talking about. Examples of recipes which are cooked by stewing are menudo, caldereta, chicken curry, pininyahang manok, estofado, caldereta. All these are examples of those food items which are stewed. That is that. We go to the next one, simmering. Cooking the food below boiling point. Okay, so which means this is done or cooked using a low temperature. Simmering is a supporting method. It is applied towards the end of the cooking process. Why? Because simmering is only there only applied in order to absorb the last ingredients, the flavor of the last ingredients added to the dish. Like for instance, add salt and pepper to taste. Then we simmer it for 10 to 15 minutes just to absorb its flavor. That is simmering. Then we go to the last one. What is that? We have parboiling. Parboiling means incomplete cooking by boiling. Meaning, other methods of cooking are applied to complete the cooking of a particular dish for as long as boiling is part of the cooking method. I'll give you an example. Sisig. Do you know how sisig is cooked? When you cook sisig, you have to boil first, the face of the animal and the ears. You boil it until it's tender. After boiling it, you will broil it or grill it. So after broiling or grilling it, you have to chop it and then saute it with other ingredients like onions and the brain of the pig and the chilies and salt and pepper to taste, and that's it. We are done with sisig. So in this portion, sisig is cooked using boiling by partial cooking of it. But other methods like broiling and sauteing are also applied to complete the cooking of the food. Therefore, with boiling and other methods of cooking, that's what we call parboiling in general. These are the different methods of cooking classified under the moist heat method. But before I leave that, I also want to add this. Stewing, simmering, and parboiling are classified as dependent method of cooking. Why? Well, because these three methods require the use of other methods of cooking to complete, the recipe or the cooking of a particular recipe. Now let's discuss the last medium of cooking, and that is the use of fat as medium, meaning the use of cooking oil or butter or margarine or shortening as we cook our food. And there are four methods of cooking classified under this. We have deep fat frying, or we simply call it deep frying, then sauteing, pan frying, and stir frying. First, let's discuss deep frying or deep fat frying. Deep frying is cooking the food or submerging the food in a big amount of fat or cooking oil. Why do we do this? Well, it's because we want to make sure that the food is evenly cooked. Number two, we want to attain a good or perfect crunchy or crispy texture of the food. And number three, we want to achieve also a perfect golden brown color of the food at a shorter period of time. So these are the reasons why we deep fry. Examples of food that require deep frying are fried chicken, potato croquettes, churros, shrimp tempura, tonkatsu, and all the other foods that are deep fried. That's what's called deep frying. We go to the next. The next one is sauteing. Cooking food in a very small amount of fat or cooking in a lightly greased pan is what you mean by sauteing. In Tagalog, we call this gisa or ginisa. Basic ingredients of sauteing process, we have onion, we have garlic, we have salt and pepper, of course, fat, cooking oil or butter. That's for the basic ingredients. Now, we have to take note that when we saute, we have to saute each ingredient properly before adding another ingredient to that. Meaning, when you add onion, you will not yet add the next ingredient. You have to draw out first the flavor of that ingredient before you add another ingredient. And with that, you are sure that you are making the flavor of your food better than when you add other instant flavorings into it. One more tip before I leave this method of cooking, this sauteing process. When we saute, always we start with onion. Question is why? Well, when we start with onion, we prevent the garlic from burning. When the garlic burns, 50% of its flavor and 50% of its nutritive value are lost. That is why we have to add first the onions before we add the garlic, and then the rest of the other ingredients. That's sauteing. And then we go to the third one, stir frying. What is this? It is a method of cooking that uses a very small amount of fat and using also a high temperature to do so. Most of the time, we stir fry vegetables with some amounts of meat like sirloin beef or maybe chicken. When we do this, we cook at high temperature because we want to retain the vibrant color of the vegetables added to that, and we also want to retain the crispy texture of those vegetables that we add into the stir-fried food. Normally, when we stir fry, we use a wok, a thick bottom wok, in order to assure that the heat distribution is perfectly done. Stir frying. We go to the last one, pan frying. It is cooking in a moderate amount of fat in a moderate temperature as well. In common terms, in Tagalog terms, this is the ordinary frying or prito. So, with a moderate amount of fat, we can pan fry luncheon meat, we can pan fry scrambled egg, or we can pan fry omelets. These are just examples of pan frying recipes or recipes that require pan frying method. So, all these four are the different methods of cooking classified under fat as a medium to cooking. And that's it. All these are the methods of cooking that we commonly use when we prepare and cook the food at home. I hope that you learned very important informations and tips and guidelines in applying each one of these methods. So, if you like this video, I hope also that you will like and share this video to everyone that you know. And if you have not yet subscribed in my YouTube channel, PLE teachers, home economics teachers, HELE teachers, students studying this course, and other people who just want to learn the basic of cooking, please subscribe in my YouTube channel and hit that notification bell for more videos and updates. Once again, this is Miss Pakle for Teacher Eyes TV. I'll see you again in our next videos. Thank you for watching.